Good evening and welcome to Across the Pitch. We're the soccer show for people who think the Woz was an electronics store in New York City. Now, of course, the famous New York City electronics store was the Wiz. Of course, if you watch Seinfeld at all, you're definitely familiar with their slogan, "We're the Wiz and nobody beats us." And the Woz, of course, would be Phoenix Rising goalkeeper Carl Wazinski. And around here, we have a saying, and it goes, "We have the Woz and nobody beats him." And of course, we have a couple of great goaltenders with the Phoenix Rising and some great midfield players. And in this part 2 of the episode, we're going to chat a little bit about the recent happenings with the Phoenix Rising and how they've fared in their recent matchups and how the midfield has been coming together. At the end of the episode, we also do mention that our friend Scott Brown is moving on from Accrington Stanley. We did record this episode on Monday, and at that point it had not been announced yet, but Scott has signed and will be playing next year with the National League side Harrogate Town. We will be talking with Scott tomorrow when this episode is coming out on Saturday evening. So tomorrow morning, we will be talking with Scott about his future with Harrogate, the end of the season with Accrington. We look forward to a chat with Scott tomorrow. And now let's have Arran and Matt rejoin me to talk some Phoenix Rising FC. Uprising. Let's give a few moments here to the Phoenix Rising because we haven't talked about them in a little bit and they've had a lot that's happened. We won't spend too much time on other than to mention that they did play and unfortunately lost in penalties to New Mexico United in the second round of the U.S. Open Cup. So that is done and dusted, and that's as much time as we'll spend on that. Although we do have an episode where you can hear more about the U.S. Open Cup, where we interviewed Ross Davenport. And tell us a little bit about that interview real quick, because he actually called some Phoenix Rising games, didn't he?
He did, yeah. I recently got in contact with him because he was calling a Phoenix Rising game, and I didn't understand his accent. Well, I mean, I understood his accent, but I consider myself pretty good, pretty worldly when it comes to understanding people's accents. This guy threw me. I had no idea, honestly. It turns out that, he's spent quite a bit of time in the UK, but also quite a considerable amount of time going to high school here in the United States, in Florida, and that's why my accent knowledge went out the window. So I got in contact with this guy. His name is Ross Davenport, and I'll tell you what, this guy was an absolute
He's a hell of a chap. Hell of a chap. And a real good sport, too.
Real good sport, man. Real good sport, man. He put up with your rugby quiz. Well done with that one, mate. I think that's through both of us for a spin there. But no, Ross, absolute legend, knows a lot about the game of rugby. He knows an awful lot more about the game of football. In fact, he's forgotten more than I've learned. Fascinating chat. Well worth a listen. Go and have a listen to that podcast.
Absolutely. And if you haven't had a chance to, we also did have an interview with Accrington Stanley midfielder and right back Callum Johnson. It was the second in our Callum Club series. Matt and I spoke with him, and check that one out if you haven't had a chance to. But I know that what you guys were wanting to talk about was the rousing victory that the Phoenix Rising had against the Las Vegas Lights last Saturday. Matt, you were at that one,
I was, yeah. That was a great game. Started out slow, kind of at the beginning of the first half. Seemed to pick it up there in the second half, and we saw a lot of guys just kind of clicking, and it was good, even though there was a change up again in our back four, which is something I just absolutely hate. I just absolutely detest inconsistency at the back. But, it was a clean sheet. Luigi Mala played very well at center back. And then the two guys that have been pulled up, Austin Ledbetter and Kyle Bjornthen, from FC Tucson, played adequately. I will say, I think there was a couple mistakes. I think a couple of them looked a little bit out of sorts. They weren't really sure what to do. But again, that's what happens when you bring in people that just aren't used to playing with each other. And when they're playing in such a vital role, a guy like Zach Lubin really has to step up and be calling out instructions. And I thought he did a fantastic job as well. Probably because, as Phil's pointed out before we got on air here, was a lot of those guys played 120 minutes on Wednesday. And so they might have been a little tired. Right. So it kind of made sense to see some of those changes.
Yeah, it did. And to be honest with you, there were moments where they looked shaky in the back four, but honestly, it was our go forward that was more impressive, wasn't it? From the midfield forward, I think that was the most cohesive game we've had this season.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The second half, they really just took over and dominated. And like I said before, we were talking before the show, and like I said, the team seems to struggle in the first 25 minutes of a game, and I mentioned that they seem to me kind of like a basketball team that struggles a little in the first half and then really turns it on at the second. The problem I see with that is that in soccer, it's a lot harder to come back than it is in basketball, and that's why we've seen 5 draws already this season. But it seems like you guys said, that the midfield has really been clicking. And a guy that I know you both wanted to talk about, and me as well, was Junior Flemmings.
Yeah, absolutely. Huge pickup this offseason. I mean, he has just been producing on the pitch. Goals, assists. He had 1 goal and an assist this past week. His vision is just outstanding. His speed. Him and Asante are just excellent together.
Do you think he's MLS quality?
Yeah, I think if he gets on the right team, for sure. I think I wouldn't be surprised if an MLS team didn't come calling next year. I think there's a lot of teams out there that could benefit from his wing play. So he's looking good.
Yeah, very impressive, Flemmings. He was one of my guys to watch out for at the beginning of the season, and I'm happy to be proven right about that.
That was a big call you made on that. And the other reason I think he could be a guy that succeeds at the next level is not only is he a good player, but he's a lot of fun to watch. He's a guy that has some flash to his game, and he's definitely, in my opinion, the best guy the Phoenix Rising have ever had in terms of being able to beat guys off the dribble.
Yeah, absolutely. He's he's like the step over king, isn't he?
Yeah, and that's saying a lot with a guy like Asante in the team.
Absolutely, yeah.
The thing I was mentioning before the show is with Asante, certainly he has plenty of dribbling skills. We all remember that 360 that he did in the preseason.
Right.
I think he's at his strongest when he's cutting into lanes and finding that open space. And he's also really adept at firing that cross into the box and putting it on Adam John's foot, for instance. Whereas Junior Flemmings, he's more of a guy that he can take the ball and beat guys one-on-one. If you were to compare to 2 players in the Premier League, I would say that Asante would be more like a Christian Eriksen, where Flemmings would be more like Son.
Okay.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying there. Yeah.
Wildly different players. Christian Eriksen is kind of the guy that's setting up, finding the open lanes, hitting the crosses into the box, where Son's more that guy that'll pick up the ball on midfield, beat 3 guys on his own, and that's what I see between those 2 guys, is that Asante, he's a guy, he's looking for the open spaces, he's finding guys on the box for the cross, where Flemmings is more of a guy. If you were to take it to a basketball analysis, I would say that Asante is more of a point guard and Flemmings is more of a shooting guard.
I could go with that. I can't get on board with the Eriksen Son thing.
No.
Asante
I think you're wrong with
takes on defenders the entire game instead of looking for passes. I mean, he'll dribble past 4 guys and then pass the ball off.
And also the other thing as well, like Christian Eriksen's a tall lad. He's going to be in the box from time to time. He cross the ball to him and he's going to nod into that. When he crosses the ball into Asante, it's going to fly 10 feet over his head and go to the far post.
I was more referring to not necessarily their playing styles, but more the role within the offense.
Yeah, no, I still don't agree with it.
Struggling, mate. I'm struggling with that one too.
I think it's good. I think Baccaro would be more like Ericsson. I think Flemmings would be like Son, and I think you'd have to say that Solo would be like Lucas Moura.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, right.
Because Baccaro's really the guy since he's come on that really pulls the strings in the midfield.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been dominant in that midfield.
He certainly did in the Champions game. Yeah,
if you were going to really put Asante to a Premier League player, that the guy that I would have to say is the guy on your team is Hazard. He would probably be closest to that kind.
Right, with that low center of gravity.
Yeah,
I was just trying to speak with the whole Tottenham metaphor you chose to go with.
Did you guys have anything else Rising related to talk about?
No, I'm good, man. I think this is a good conversation tonight.
Yeah. I've got to say, Rising look good. They look good. They've shown flashes of brilliance, but this is probably the best sustained game I've seen them play. And hopefully, they're up to third. All of a sudden, they looked like they were languishing. People were calling for Rick Chance's head. All of a sudden, they was like, "Oh, we're in third. Whoops, how did that happen?" Don't know. All right, we're on board with this again.
Yeah, you know what? I do have one more thing to say.
Yeah,
Phoenix Rising has the best merchandise in American soccer.
Oh, yes.
Anybody else can come at me with that.
Man.
If you guys haven't checked it out, Mustafa Dumboya did a player-designed hat for the Rising, and it is a beautiful hat. And they're killing it in that department. So shout out to Sam Dorr and all those guys over at Phoenix Rising. You know, New Era.
Yep.
Everybody
New Era,
because Phoenix Rising, again, I'm going to say it, hands down, best merch in American soccer, possibly in global soccer.
Damn.
Ooh.
Oh, damn. Gee, they do good, though. They really, really do.
Yes.
I did love their military kit this last weekend. I thought that was gold.
I just picked up a new hat at the team shop myself last Wednesday, and can't complain because, you know, with New Era hats, I mean, there's just not a better hat that you can get. I don't wear anything else.
So just had to say that. Shout out to that whole team over there.
Well done, guys. Well done, guys. News across the pitch news desk. No. It's not Jose Mourinho. It's another wacky manager. Marco Bielsa of Leeds has been caught again in Spygate round 2. Oh, yes. He was recently caught on vacation spying on Mallorca lack of outfit, Playa del Margo. There's a source pending on this, and I have to say this is pure satire. Don't sue us. Despite this, he's apparently signing again for yet another disappointing year at Leeds United.
Mallorca is the Spanish club that's owned by Steve Nash and Robert Sarver.
No. This is the Playa del Margo outfit.
I thought you said Mallorca.
I did. It's a beach in Mallorca. It's a nudist beach.
Well, they also have a third division Spanish football club owned by Steve Nash and Robert Sarver. So. I knew that fact. I don't know about the nude beaches, but I can tell you about their football team.
Oh no, it goes back to our previous conversation of being on holidays in Spain. Anyway, don't sue us. Please don't sue us, Leeds. All right, it's a satire, okay? We didn't really mean it.
Well, I think we're going to have to digress at this point for the evening, and we look forward to chatting with you again soon. We have lots of stuff coming out. Just to give you a little bit of an idea of what we're going to be doing over the summer, we're not going anywhere, even though the English season is wrapping up. We're, of course, going to keep up our Phoenix Rising coverage, do some MLS stuff, Women's World Cup, Gold Cup, and then coming up in August, we're going to have some special guests come onto the show, and we're going to preview not just the English leagues, but also the Bundesliga from Germany, Serie A from Italy. We're trying to get somebody in for La Liga so that we can preview all of the big leagues and know who our Champions League opponents are going to be. That's all coming up in the summer. Of course, we're going to also have our big book release with Darren Woodhead. And one more our final very, very big and special announcement that is very near and dear to Across the Pitch is that our good friend and the first guest who ever appeared on the show, Scott Brown, made a big announcement this morning that he will no longer be with Accrington Stanley next year. We don't know a whole lot more at this point. However, Scott will be sitting down to us this Sunday, so we'll have a good chance to chat with him and ask him what his plans are. And we just wanted to say to you, Scott, thank you for all the memories, not only coming on the show, but for us to watch you playing with Stanley. And we wish you tons of luck wherever your career leads you next. And we will certainly be continuing to follow you next year wherever you might be at.
Indeed. Yep. All the best, Scott. Wish you well. Now, there is just one little thing you missed out.
What's that?
Film. Oh, you did promise our listeners a Michael Bolton song, didn't you?
I've been practicing.
Okay. How about next Monday we go to the George and Dragon in Midtown Phoenix, and we go have a little karaoke session. What do you think, mate?
Okay. I could get on board with this.
Let's make a plan for that, because that will be after the last playoff game and kind of the event, the end of the English season, other than the Community Shield.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yes, and of course, Champions League and
that's
Europa
not
Cup
English,
as well.
Geez, that's European.
Well, it's still English at this point.
Well, there's 4 English sides in there. Yeah.
Well, the trophies are going back home, that's for sure.
One of them, 2 of them, yeah.
All right, guys. Well, as always, for my brother from down under,
my mate from State 48, and Mr. Wizard over there.
Yeah, have a good night, guys.